Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's more Star Trek here at Cinema Color for your listening pleasure with Rob, Butch, Rob, Butch, and Rob. We are here. We just were here talking about Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, because it was the 40th anniversary of Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock this year. You know what else it is? Rob, did you do the math? What else is there an anniversary of this year?
Well, if you take the Delta Quadrant and divide it by pi, you get, I believe, the 35th anniversary of Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Am I right, Butch?
That is correct. So, 40th anniversary of Star Trek 3, 35th anniversary of Star Trek 5. That means we called an audible and decided not to do an episode of Star Trek 4, which is next in line, but to do Star Trek 5 because it is the anniversary. We will do Star Trek 4 in 2 years when it's the 40th anniversary of Star Trek 4. But today we bring you Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier, generally considered the greatest of all the Star Trek movies, Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier. Rob, where were you when you first saw Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier? Do you remember where you first saw it?
Well, I do, Butch. Are you ready to buckle in for a story?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right. I know this, and to our imaginary fans, this will answer the question, what does Rob need with a podcast? But here I go. So, this movie came out a year after we graduated. I graduated from Wenatchee High School. I came back to visit my friends or for a National Guard weekend or something, because I was in the National Guard unit still out of Wenatchee, even though we lived in Everett. And it was opening weekend of Star Trek V, the highly anticipated after what a home run Star Trek 4 had been.
For sure.
And so I went on opening night with the Apple Blossom Queen, Heather Smith, who had never seen a Star Trek movie, and man, was I excited. And it was sort of a puzzling experience, but it was fun. And then, of course, I've told you how, like that December, when Star Trek V got released on video cassette,
yes,
that was the event where I got to meet James Doohan, and I talked to him for like 20 minutes, and he signed a Star Trek V poster for me. To Rob, best wishes, James Doohan, which my now ex-wife just threw away after like 10 years. So,
wow.
Yeah, I have fondness in a lot of different ways for Star Trek V, but it is, a bit of a mixed bag and a bit of a divisive movie. But I think it's going to be really fun to talk about. How about you, Butch? Where were you when you first saw it?
So it was after my freshman year of college. So I'm working in industrial construction in Bakersfield, California, which means we're working like 6 10-hour days, right? So on a Saturday night after working, we went to like an 8 o'clock or a 9 o'clock movie in Bakersfield, California. Went and saw this. That was the summer. Summer of '89 was the summer of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. This movie, Batman. It was a big movie summer. I went and saw a lot of movies in Bakersfield, and a couple of them, at least one of them in Sacramento.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we went to see this movie. My dad is who I went and saw it with because that's who I was working with all summer.
Opening night?
I don't think so. It's probably Saturday night, I'm guessing.
Okay. All right.
But again, it's like that's just the way it is. And so this, again, I think what did we both learn? Not the right movie to introduce somebody to Star Trek with, right? So
yes,
there you go. Well, so here's the thing: you just got to have all this backstory, and if you do, luckily, I will say this for this movie, they don't require you to know the backstory because they're not going to bring up anything that's happened in the last 3 movies. They're just going to pretend those last 3 movies didn't happen, which is fine because we're used to episodic television with Star Trek, but having done 3 movies in a row where the movies all are in an interconnected and interrelated in a single through storyline, then to have something where it's like, okay, let's move on and do something different, and it's cool, but it's like no callbacks at all is pretty weird. And so so I remember thinking, well, I remember going there being really excited, and because it seemed from the commercials like there was a lot of humor, just like in Star Trek 4, and there is a lot of humor in it. I don't think it all lands as well as Star Trek 4, but that's not really the point. It doesn't really have. Well, we'll talk about it a little bit more. I think Star Trek 4 is clearly the better of the 2 movies But it's strange because they occupy on my list of the first 6 movies. They occupy spots next to each other at 5 and 6 out of the first 6 movies. So that's strange. I don't think that's your list, but that's my list. So
no, but I watched 4 like a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw 4, I thought that's the best one.
Yeah.
Over time, I've had it like 1A with Wrath of Khan.
Mm-hmm.
Then, they cleaned up and greatly shined up, spit and polished the motion picture, which now I'm like, damn, that's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So I've got that at 2. And then I would put 4. I don't even know if I have 4 ahead of 6. It's 4 is good, but it just doesn't quite. I don't know that it's holding up quite as much. And 5, I've always had. I don't want to make it sound like 5 is ahead of 4. It's not. But I have always found 5 to be an endearing movie, even with giant flaws in it. But I have always enjoyed 5, and it feels kind of like what I said about Star Trek 3 feels like an episode of the show.
Oh yeah, this definitely feels like an episode. Yeah.
Yeah, this feels like I would say if these were shows, not movies, the motion picture feels like a season 1 episode where it's great, but it's a little off, a little different.
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, and 4, I would call like season 2 episodes, with 3 being a lesser season 2 episode. And then I would call this like a good season 3 episode where it's like, it's interesting. It's got some interesting ideas in it, but they're slashing the budget. The props look like shit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
That's exactly right.
So, yeah.
Ironic is it's more expensive than 2 or 3 and maybe even 4. Probably not as expensive as 4. But it's more expensive than 2 or 3. We're at $33 million budget. It did make $70 million, so it made more money than it cost. It made more than twice its budget, so you figure that means it made a profit, but it was pretty close. The biggest difference in this is that the last 2 movies, the one we just did, 3, and then the one that came after it, 4, both directed by Leonard Nimoy. He was barely in 3, and then he's in a lot of 4, but he directs both of them. And then he's like, okay, I'm good. And he goes off to direct other movies and stuff. And then William Shatner's going, hey, which one of us was the star of the series on TV? Me, that's right. When do I get a chance to direct? And you had indicated that he was supposed to direct one of the episodes that they never got to film because they ended the season 2 episodes early in season 3, right? So,
yeah, and apparently, according to the extras on Star Trek 5, he had, as a condition of appearing in 4, been promised to direct 5.
Right, and so luckily for him, 4 was a success, and it was. So he's going to get a chance to direct. I won't say how well that went, but I will say that his other directorial credits include Groom Lake 2002, The Captains 2011, which is a documentary about Star Trek, Get a Life 2012, which is a documentary about Star Trek, and Chaos on the Bridge 2014, which is a documentary about Star Trek. And then that's it. He didn't even have TV directing credits after this. So
yeah, he did. I think he did some T.J. Hooker and stuff, but on TV before he ever did this. But so he wasn't a total rook.
Wasn't a rook, yeah, exactly. But he not only did he direct this, but the story kind of build was his story, right? He came up with the story as well. And you can definitely tell because Shatner in this period of his career is like really into the horseback riding and being active, and so he was determined to make this to show them doing physical things, right? So I mean, Star Trek 2 is a lot of them sitting on a bridge and occasionally walking through some corridors of Regula 1 and stuff like that. This one, they're mountain climbing, they're riding horses, they're fighting, they're doing all this stuff, they're running through corridors. Nimoy called it the most physical film of the entire film series, which is ironic because they are all of them. Even Nimoy has put on weight for this movie. They all have put on. It's like none of them look like they're in shape for this movie.
Yeah, they kind of look like shit in this movie. And those we'll get to it, but those ghastly uniforms. I take back everything I said about Star Trek 3's costumes. They're worse in 5.
Woo. That's so it's interesting because the original. So there are a couple other things that nearly didn't happen. So Takei found out Shatner was directing. He's like, I don't really want to be in a movie if Shatner's directing it. But then he says that he enjoyed it. He thought Shatner's direction was good, and he enjoyed being directed by Shatner. So that was something, because they have famously beefed for like the last 30 years, right? The two of them do not get along anymore.
30.
Yeah, at least 30 years. And then meanwhile, Nichelle Nichols, also in this movie, she does get to have a striptease dance, which that's her dancing. Now, here's the thing that really gets me. That's not her singing. They dubbed her singing voice. She was nonplussed about her singing. She's a professional singer. She was nonplussed that they dubbed her singing voice with a different voice.
Well, that's ironic, because while I would have taken a striptease from Star Trek 3 with Uhura,
Yes.
just 5 years earlier,
Oh, yeah.
she now has a body for radio, in my opinion.
Well, I will say this, though. We do see her legs in this, and her legs, you can tell she has a dancer's legs, right? She has muscular and athletic legs. She's past her prime, obviously. She missed the window, is what you're saying. If you're going to do a striptease with Nichelle Nichols, you missed her window.
Yeah, and she's a handsome woman, and I'm all for Tina Turner rocking the legs late in her 40s, whatever, too. But that was there's quite a drop off, in my opinion, just strictly speaking in a sexist way about Uhura's appearance from Star Trek 3 to 5. It's a bit of a drop off.
They are, all of them, appreciably, noticeably older and less in shape, right? And ironic, because now they're having to do more jumping and running and hiking and climbing and horseback riding and cornholing and all that other stuff. So it's great. But here's the
even
thing.
though, and probably less than 6 months has passed in the time in the events of Star Trek 3 and 5, probably, right?
Oh yeah. It's just right. It's like they get the new ship in Star Trek 4. Spoilers, and then they're about to take it on a test run, and they find out it's kind of a disaster. It's not. They gave it to them. It wasn't quite ready to go out, so they're showing them repairing. It's probably been only a couple weeks, maybe a few weeks. They have not left Earth yet since then, so they're hanging out there. But my favorite part here about the backstory of this, a couple of details I came away from. With some data from IMDb, which is the visual effects were not as good as they were hoped, because they were supposed to use Industrial Light and Magic for the visual effects, but Industrial Light and Magic was busy with Ghostbusters 2 and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and so they couldn't do it, so they farmed it out to somebody else kind of last second, and they got a lot less value for their money than they would have. And you can tell it looks significantly different than any of the other Star Trek movies.
Yeah, and the way movies are made, you apparently can't do what we would all say, which is, well, let's put it off a year and wait for Industrial Light and Magic. But apparently you can't do that. You agree to make a movie at this time and for this release. And
you got windows that you have to meet there. So as a result, there was supposed to be some stuff with some rock monsters, which were originally going to be men in costumes, but it was dropped. And later, a movie called Galaxy Quest would pick up that exact same scene and use it. With actual CGI rock monsters, and it looked pretty good in there, and that's fine. So that was their way to do a callback. But the other thing that I thought was really interesting was that Kim Cattrall auditioned for this movie, and she auditioned to play the Klingon officer Vixis, the female Klingon officer, and didn't get it. They gave it to, what's her name? Let's see, Spice Williams got that. They were looking for somebody with muscles, I think, and Kim Cattrall didn't have any. So later, they would cast her in the next movie, also with a character that starts with V, Valeris. That was a good call. I'm glad they didn't burn Kim Cattrall on Vixis, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and also, Kim Cattrall she might have been a little too young in '89, frankly, to play the role that would have been asked. And whoever they got, Spice Williams or whatever. She's awesome. She's great.
She was playing the Private Vasquez from Aliens. She's got some guns and ain't afraid to use them. Vixis has in this one, so sure. So there originally was not the Vulcan in this was originally named Czar. Originally was not related to Spock. It was Harv Bennett's idea to make them related. Shatner didn't like it, but they did. I think that works, and I think the actor that they have playing him, Lawrence Luckinbill, does a pretty good job. I think, given what he has.
Yeah, I agree. I think he does a great job. I like the Spock half brother angle. It made for a fantastic trailer for the movie, which is like a renegade Vulcan, and it's like, oh shit, and
Yeah.
you know, and quite a surprise when you find out it's Spock's half brother. Now, this is another one we're going to put in the column of, okay, you did that, it worked, stop doing it.
Yes.
Do not do this more. Don't keep adding surprise relatives of Spock, but they didn't heed us, Butch.
They didn't. That's true. Although the most famous of those is not an actual relation; it was just an adopted person in the household. But still, your point is well taken for sure. So they figured it's been 30 years, nobody will notice. They were wrong. So did you notice that there's a Catwoman in this movie? If we learn anything from our walkthrough of Star Trek, the original series, there's a lot of Catwomen. I counted at least 3, right?
Yes.
We've got the girl, Gary Seven's girl who turns into a cat, Isis. We've got Sylvia, who's on the Halloween planet that turns into a cat. We've got Julie Newmar, who's not technically a cat, but is a Catwoman.
Yes.
Has played a Catwoman when she's in Friday's Child. This we get a legit Catwoman.
And I think that is a joke. I think that's an in-joke. I think there are, you know what I noticed this time watching it? Because I watched it last night and today. I got a little sleepy last night. And so after Uhura's dance, I was like, yeah, I will finish this tomorrow. But what I noticed was there are a lot of similarities to original series episodes.
Yes.
And I thought little winks and nods to it. And I really enjoyed that. So I did pick up on the Catwoman thing. I was like,
so yes. The important thing is this is a year before Total Recall comes out. And the Catwoman in this clearly has 3 breastises. And that's presaging the girl the actress who played the 3-breasted mutant in Total Recall would have 2-episode run as a minor character on Star Trek The Next Generation. Also,
really?
Actually, I believe she had that before she was in this, I believe. Or before she was in Total Recall, rather. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, she was one of Geordi's engineers, is what it was. So that's fun. But yeah, so we get a Catwoman. That's interesting. And then, but here's the thing. This movie was the first one of the, like I said, 2, 3, and 4 all connected. This is not connected. I don't know if that worked or didn't work, but it did get nominated for some awards. The Image Awards, which are awards for mostly the African-American community. And Nichelle Nichols was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. She lost to somebody named Suzanne Douglas in a movie called Tap. I don't know what that is. It did win Best Score for Fantasy Sci-Fi Horror Film in the Movie Music UK Awards. That's nice. It was also nominated for 4 and won 1. Or I'm sorry, it was nominated for 6 and won 3 Razzie Awards. The ones it won were Worst Picture, Worst Actor Shatner, and Worst Director Shatner. It lost Worst Picture of the Decade to Mommy Dearest. It lost Screenplay to Harlem Nights, and it lost Best Supporting. DeForest Kelley got a Razzie for Best Supporting Actor. I'm like, I don't think so.
And I think it's a little harsh on Shatner too. I don't think his direction is bad. I think you cut so many corners. Yeah. It's hard to keep it even coherent.
Yes, it is. Okay, but now we're going to talk about the one part that more than anything else, it shouldn't bother me, Rob, but it does. And that's the scene where they're climbing the ladder in the turbo shaft.
I lose my damn mind every time they're showing floor numbers.
Yes.
I get so pissed. I was mad in the moment at the theater.
I know.
24, 38, 52, 77, 52. I was like, what?
But most importantly, the numbers get bigger as they go down. So the highest one is 1. The bridge is the first level, right? And but when they get to the very top, it's 77 or whatever. And but the other thing that bothers me about that is the 3 of them are at the bottom of the shaft, and they start climbing the ladder, except Spock kind of cuts off and goes somewhere else. And then they're climbing the ladder, and they're like, this is going to take us forever. And then Spock comes zooming in with his jet boots from above them. I was like, why didn't you just send the message while you're up there, Spock? Maybe you could just do that. It would be fine. It's cool.
Or if, obviously it wasn't quite the scary thing we thought it was to just take the turbo lift to wherever you're going. I mean, Spock did it.
Somebody got up there somehow. It's fine. Yeah, although he probably, did his Jedi mind tricks on people and stuff. But
I don't know who... That is so sloppy to not even get the sequence. If you're going to show deck numbers, at least make sure you've got them in numerical order. I don't care what direction they're going, but they're not going both.
They're back down, they're back up. It's crazy. That to me is the worst scene in this movie, which is kind of sad because it's almost right after one of the best scenes in this movie, the jailbreak scene. But I'll get there. So we already know who our main cast is. We have all of them back. No Chapel, but everybody else is back in this movie. And we've already talked about Lawrence Luckinbill as Cybok. Let's talk about a couple, and we talked about Spice Williams as Vixis. So let's talk about a couple of the other guest stars. David Warner plays, and I wrote Sir John Talbot. It's St. John Talbot. But listen, this is what my wife said. My wife said, did it say St. John Talbot? I was like, no, it says St. John. She's like, yeah, St. John. That you can pronounce St. John as St. John. I was like, you can? Because now I got to go back and watch A View to a Kill again when Roger Moore is pretending to be some guy named St. John Smythe. Is he St. John Smythe the whole time? I got to know. I'm very confused. Yeah. But he's going to be in the next movie. So
I love David Warner.
Yeah.
He's great in Time After Time, which is a great Nicholas Meyer movie.
Yes.
He's great in Star Trek VI.
Yes.
Any asshole could have played his character, St. John St. John Smythe Talbot.
Yes. He's wasted
because
in this movie.
They give him nothing.
He's wasted in this movie. That's exactly right. It's like they're just throwing him a bone or whatever. Yeah.
The asshole lawyer from In the Children Shall Lead could have played that guy.
Melvin Belly. Oh, I need you to pump your fists as if you're doing something Daddy taught you not to do. You're going to pump your fist and something will appear.
I forbid it. You must listen to me. Yeah, he would have been fine as St. John's University Smythe Talbot. Would have been fine.
That's right. The Red Storm themselves. All right, so we are going to get the point of this is it's at the Planet of Galactic Peace, Nimbus 3. And so we have a Klingon and a Federation of Romulans. St. John Talbot plays the Federation guy. Cynthia Gone plays the Romulan Caitlin Dar.
Oof.
She's got a different look than Romulans usually do, but for the most part, she looks alien and has pointed ears and pointed eyebrows, and that's fine, right?
She doesn't act or look Romulan, but she's smoking hot, and I'm on board.
I don't know who you are, but I'll tell you this. Sorry. Didn't win points for acting on that. And then Charles Cooper plays General Cord, who is kind of the big, out of shape, out of overweight Klingon who does get his moment.
Klingon Scotty is what I thought.
I thought it was Doohan for a sec, but it's somebody named Charles Cooper. But they did. That's funny because the guy who plays the actual bad guy Klingon in this, nobody ends up being a bad guy at the end, is Todd Bryant plays Captain Claw. They discovered Todd Bryant playing like craps at a casino and said, "Hey, you look like you look good in Klingon makeup. You interested in coming down?" And so that's literally how they found him. They cast him at a casino.
He looks awesome, I think.
Yeah, he's very physically imposing. For sure, very tall, and I think tall Klingons is helpful, right? So,
and he looked like a badass, not like the mouth-breathing guy who, is scared to feed the dog in Star Trek 3.
That's right. He's no Maltz, but he's not the guy who gets vaporized either. All right, and lastly but not leastly, George Murdoch plays God in this movie. George Murdoch would later go on to be to have a 2-episode arc, all on a video screen in Next Generation, when he would play in the Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2. He's the admiral that tells them that the Borg are coming, and he's the admiral that gets blown up, so Picard has to go. Nobody's there to tell Picard not to go to Earth, kind of a thing.
That's a great 2-parter, and I watched it over the weekend.
Oh yeah. So he, of course, is in that, so that's good. So that's our guest stars for this movie. Like I said, 21% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 43% on Metacritic. So not the best viewed one of all, but like I said, it's it's still in my top 6 TOS movies. It's probably 7th on my overall Star Trek list, maybe if I'm in a mood not to put J.J. Abrams movies up in the top 10. Sometimes I am.
Yeah, and I remember that my dad's fourth wife, Sharon, who he was married to for like 17 years. She did not like Star Trek, but she liked Star Trek V the best.
All right. Well, see, you get a bonus point for stepmom number 3, right? So, wife number 4, stepmom number 3. So that's good.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Well, that's a ringing endorsement. Like I said, as far as I know, none of my family from high school likes any Star Trek. Least of all this one, probably. So,
I think it's, if you look at it like you look at the episodes, I don't expect every Star Trek episode to be a masterpiece, and you can enjoy them even if they're not maybe the greatest episodes.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Then I think it's an enjoyable romp with some cringy flaws in it, but I like it. I do like it. Is it a well-made, great movie? No.
I think the best, maybe the only really good parts of this movie are the comedy bits, and they do have some pretty good comedy bits in this. Some of these things are very memorable lines. There's one shot in this which we'll talk about. I'm sure we might have already mentioned it or intimated it, but there's one that it's like I'd seen it on the trailer 100 times and laughed every time, and then when you finally see it in the theater, you still laugh like it's the first time you ever saw it. It was very Throw Mama from the Train, Danny DeVito hitting Billy Crystal with a frying pan kind of thing. Not quite that good, but it makes a similar sound effect, and that's got to count for something.
I think there's a lot of really good character stuff with the big three. I really do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
A lot of the stuff about the plot and stuff, I could care less. I couldn't care less. You know what I mean? It's a device to move the story, and frankly, a lot of the elements of the story we've seen in other episodes. So, I've seen people who were godlike. I've seen lots of this stuff, but as a character study of what if you're like me. And seeing Kirk, Spock, and McCoy interact is just a joy whenever it happens.
Yes.
This is right. There's some real good stuff in that vein.
Absolutely, there is, and I think that I've always said that's some of the best parts of Star Trek for me are Spock and McCoy going at each other, and then we get that, so that's good. So let's go to where this movie opens because it's going to have a prologue that, again, like most prologues, doesn't have anything to do with our characters. I wrote down, this is the sentence I wrote down, midnight oil out in the western desert where it lives and breathes at 45 degrees. Did I get that all correct? Okay.
Yeah, it's a strange opening, because ever since like the late 50s, movies had started opening out with a bang usually, something to grab the audience. This is not that. It's mildly interesting, I guess. It's a little, you're like, huh. But there's not. It's not V'ger.
No.
Attacking.
No.
And wiping out some Klingons to start the movie.
That was a banger of a way to start a movie because first of all, we got better special effects than we'd ever seen in Star Trek before. 3 Klingon ships on screen, which we'd never seen before, and it blows them all up. But good. I mean, that's like I think Shatner was thinking. The big reveal that there's a laughing Vulcan is enough of a sting to like get people's attention, and I don't know that it did, but that's what I think that's what he's going for, a laughing Vulcan. Can you imagine? I was like, well, we did see Spock laugh a few times.
Yeah, I mean it's okay, but yeah, there's no where's the God, remember when you watched the motion picture, and I did not see that in the theater at the time, but when you watch the motion picture and it starts off and you're just like, whoa, with the effects, and then that bow, bow, yeah, you're like, God damn, I'm in.
Yes.
And this one you're like, huh. So it's okay. It's it's all right. It's more like someone ran out of gas. It's like the first Mad Max movie, not that great. skipper.
Filmed in the Australian desert. I think we've established that. That's right.
Well, and what's interesting then is the next scene is also not a banger. It's just
yeah. So let's finish with this one first. So, guy in the desert digging holes in the middle of what is the most worthless ground ever. A guy rides up to him. He pulls a gun on the guy riding up to him, and the guy gets off the horse and reveals himself to be a Vulcan, but not only any Vulcan, but a laughing Vulcan. He definitely gives off a cult leader vibe already in this, right? Has big words, winning people over. He has a quest for ultimate knowledge, and he will need a starship to get it. And
that is why I went with for my mug for tonight's movie.
Oh, yes. Very nice. Drink up.
I was like, oh, should I use my Star Trek one? No, I'm going to go with the cult leader Jim Jones mug.
Well done. So we were thinking the same thing. Okay, that's great. So the line I like in here is that the Vulcan says, "I don't believe you'd kill me for a field full of empty holes," and the man says, "It's all that I have."
I've always remembered that.
Yeah, I mean, because basically he's at the bottom of his barrel. He's scraping the bottom of the barrel and looking for a purpose. And Cybok, we don't know what Cybok yet, is going to give him a purpose.
Yeah.
And then we go straight to the theme from the motion picture / Star Trek The Next Generation. By now, surely nobody thinks of this already as motion picture. Most people going to this are thinking Next Generation is what they're thinking, because they kind of took
What's interesting is it's the same composer back from the motion picture.
Absolutely, yes. Right. It's a different version of it, but it's less orchestral, but it's still very recognizable. It's a Star Trek song.
And the score for the motion picture was such an epic score.
Yes.
To fit the epic scope of that movie.
Yes.
And then this is just not epic.
It is not. Well, hold that thought, because after the credits roll, we're going to go to Yosemite Park. Yosemite National Park in California. Someone is doing a little bit of free climbing. It takes us a little while to be sure, but because you never know what rug Shatner's going to wear. But it's James T. Kirk. He's doing some free climbing. He's climbing El Capitan.
I actually like, and I think it's funny that the captain is climbing El Capitan, but I think it looks good. I think it's, especially when you see him from across the way, where in a minute you're going to see from McCoy's point of view, but it's like, wow, there's a little. It shows how big El Capitan is, and how, crazy it is for someone to free climb it, and it does feel like something Kirk would do.
Yes,
I don't know that it's a good idea.
You know why he'd do it, by the way? Do you know why he'd do it?
Because it's there.
It's there. That's right. Yeah, you can tell Shatner is like, I'm going to make Kirk a badass again. They're going to forget all about Spock because I'm going to make Kirk a badass.
Yeah,
that's what it's thinking. I will say that I did like when McCoy is watching him from binoculars and bitching and moaning, complaining. He's like, again, I better be careful. I might start talking to myself, which I thought was a funny line, even though it's kind of like a no-brainer. And then
I do not like the gravity line. That is lame.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, it is lame. Don't believe you realize the gravity of your situation. And then he starts coaching you. Remember, you must be one with the rock. That I thought was kind of funny, because they're going to run with that "be one with the rock" line several times, and I think that recurring comedy is what works in this movie. Is when they run with the recurring line kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I think Shatner is funny. I think Shatner has a great comic sense. I think he gets criticized as only being someone who hams it up, but I also think he's a good actor and a very good comedic actor.
Absolutely.
And I think he was having some fun with some of this stuff before the special effects let him down.
That's right. Okay, so then Shatner gets a little distracted and falls, presumably to his death, and then we get top 5 worst special effects of the movie, where Spock flies down and catches him, stops him just before he hits the ground, holding him upside down, and then they're showing him fly. He's like hovering at a 90-degree angle. It's like, how are these jet boots keeping them in the air at this point? You know what? It doesn't matter, because Kirk sees McCoy run over and says, "Mind if we drop in for dinner?" Woo.
It's dumb. It looks like shit.
All right.
But mainly it's dumb.
Yes, it's dumb. I will say this: it's the scenes in the campsite get better, but first, Rob, let me take you down to Paradise City, where the streets are dirt and the girls are kitty, if I may.
That's good stuff, Butch.
I was waiting for a laugh because I was like, I
Well,
was proud of that line.
and I know you like a lot of slash in your Trek, as evidenced by all the Sandra and Myrna.
Yes, exactly.
So
That's exactly right. So, so there we're going to meet Kate Ladar. She's the Romulan ambassador. Then we're going to meet St. John Talbot from Earth and General Cord. They're on Nimbus 3, the planet of galactic peace. But what really is about, they're all about to be hostages to an uprising led by that pesky Vulcan. I wrote a little bit Mad Max here. This is where it really feels Mad Max here, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And am I to believe that this planet's in the neutral zone? Is that right? Where is this
It's
planet?
the planet of galactic peace. So you just look for. I think it forms a peace sign between the Klingon Federation and Romulan Empire. Is what.
Well,
it is.
I was like, what's the 4 points town you can go to where it's on the border of force? Because they're always talking about, hey, you're violating neutral zone treaty by coming here or whatever. Like, is it in the neutral zone? Where is this
it
place?
must be in the neutral zone, right? Yeah. So I think that's it, right? You can't do hostile activities in the neutral zone, is what it is. So yeah, so they're all captured, and we get kind of the whole, the Vulcan kind of gives them the evil eye, and then next thing you know.
So Butch,
Yeah.
what did you call it? I forget what you called it. I'm calling this Lawrence Luckenbill of Arabia is what I was getting when they come riding in.
Yeah, he's definitely riding on that horse like courageously and proudly. I will say that for sure. So, but that leaves us there, and then we're going to go back to that starbase we saw in Star Trek 3, but it's going to look a little different. They put some spiky things on top of it now, for some reason. I guess it's antenna or whatever. And we're going to see the new Enterprise. And let's just say Scotty is nonplussed about having to fix everything. He's the voiceover. It's like the engineer's log. And guess who has to fix it? That's right. And I wrote down, when did Scotty and Uhura become a thing, by the way? That never happened as far as I know. But they seem to open this movie with it sort of being a thing. And they've never been a thing before.
Yeah, I was okay with that. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But what I was not okay with is like, and I brought you a bag of chips. Like, that's, I brought dinner, and it's like a bag of chips. I mean, it's terrible.
That's what I had for dinner last night on the way home from my meeting. I had corn nuts, but it's fine.
Like she stopped at a gas station on the way there. I mean, come on, you can do better than that.
And for dessert, Pez. Yeah, that's exactly right.
What about some cubes of watermelon and cantaloupe? Like
Thank you. Always done watermelon, cantaloupe, and honeydew cubes. Exactly. And you can paint them and pretend they're meat if you want to, but you don't have to. It's either way. So then suddenly there's a red alert, and there's a priority 7 message from the neutral zone. Scotty's just flat out says, they can't be serious. But they're like, well, we're serious. You got to do it. So they're like, I guess it's time to recall everybody, all the key personnel from shore leave.
Yeah, and I think they overdid this a little. Like, not only and Scotty explained to us, they said, let's see what she's got, and we found out it's a piece of shit. Okay, it's a lemon.
Yep.
The Enterprise is a lemon. I can't imagine that their iPads don't work. The red alert voice doesn't work.
The iPads come from the Apple Store? I mean, why do they not work? It's exactly
Nothing right. works. Kirk's trying to enter a log, for Christ's sakes, in a minute here, and the thing, blows up.
Yeah. It's very confusing. I don't know. You'd think they'd at least be able to get the non-attached parts right. You know what I mean? It's like, can't we just take that from the last ship? I guess technically the last ship, all the little fuel consumption report things are all gone because it burned up in the atmosphere of a planet that's now gone. But still, come on, man. You got to have some of these lying around.
It doesn't work at all. I mean, it's terrible.
Yep.
And I think it's too much.
Right.
And I think saying we're going to go out with less than a skeleton crew, stop it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we've talked about that before, how we don't like a skeleton crew. So let's go back down to the planet. Are we to believe that Chekhov and Sulu are also at Yosemite Park?
I mean, that's what I thought, but then you watch the deleted scenes and they're at Mount Rushmore.
So that makes more sense. That they're somewhere else, still on the North American continent, still trees, different park, right?
And there's no reason that any of them would have to be anywhere near each other. I mean, they can be wherever they want. It takes the same amount of time to beam them up or whatever.
Did the deleted scene show whether Schwarzenegger makes it onto Mount Rushmore? Does he make it onto Mount Rushmore, Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Well, it was funny. It's kind of funny. They have some stupid line, and I'm glad it was cut. It added nothing. But then they pull back to show the 4 presidents and like Crazy Horse or somebody. So they've added an Indian chief.
Well, Crazy Horse is a memorial that's built about 20 miles south of there. So it'd be weird that they added it to Mount Rushmore. That'd be weird because Crazy Horse is near there, but not there.
I could be wrong about which Indian chief.
Doesn't matter.
It could be Geronimo. I mean, I don't know.
It doesn't matter. So it's interesting. They did add a face to it, is what you're saying. All right, that's fine. So the thing about Sulu and Chekhov, the navigator and the helmsman of the Enterprise, is they're lost in the forest. And then we have a little bit of an attempt at humor, which I didn't think was great, where Chekhov pretends like it's snowing and they're lost in a blizzard. And they're like, yeah, I'm looking at the weather. It says sunny and 70 degrees. And they're like, it's a miracle.
It's silly. It doesn't need to be in there, but it's not terrible.
It's not terrible, but it's not the best. All right. So then this is, I think, one of my favorite scenes. Bones is ringing the dinner bell, and he's serving bipodal seeds, bourbon and beans, and so they're all. And Spock tastes it, is like, oh, what is the flavoring in there? And Kirk's like, can I have some of that flavoring? And hands him a bottle out of his back pocket. And Spock's like, am I to understand that there's alcohol in these? He's like, yep. And I like that. McCoy says, yeah, it wouldn't bother his stomach. He could probably eat a bowl of termites and it wouldn't bother him. I say that about myself all the time. I could eat a bowl of termites and it wouldn't bother me. So
my stomach often feels like I have eaten a bowl of termites. It's fun, Kirk seems relaxed. Bones is kind of being a little bit southern, funny, sort of irascible, and Spock's being Spock. It's good stuff. I'm fine with all of it.
Yeah, are you as you're fond of pointing out, I'm half human, and McCoy says certainly doesn't show. He's like, thank you. So this is very, very low key, them kind of joshing each other, which is great. But he does say, you really pissed me off, Jim. And he says, and then the dumbest thing in this movie, I think, the dumbest thing in this movie is Kirk is determined to say, I knew I wasn't going to die because I've always known I'll die alone. I was like, A, how does one know that? And B, I'm sorry to report that when Kirk does die, he's not alone. When he dies in Star Trek Generations, Picard is right there with him to hear his last word.
Yeah, and see, who gives a shit,
yes!
Kirk? We weren't talking about that.
Yes, exactly. And I did like McCoy's response. Well, I'll call Valhalla and have him reserve a room for you. I did like that because, he's like...
I like that too. And I like the part where McCoy... Oh, I don't know if it's right here, but McCoy says, all that time in space, we get on each other's nerves, and then what do? We go on shore leave together. I thought that was nice.
Absolutely. So, yeah, and that line is in the next scene, in the continuation of that scene, because then they're sitting around the campfire having eaten the beans. Spock produces a little device, and he says, I did some reading about camping, and he pulls out a device, and it does beep, beep, bloop, 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 and all of a sudden, this very long... marshmallow comes out, and he says, I have produced a marshmallow. And I think this is great because Spock has done research and he has gotten something wrong. And McCoy just lights up because he knows he got it wrong. He's like, well, what do you know? A marshmallow. And Spock doesn't know he got it wrong. And so it's this great bit where McCoy is having fun at Spock's expense, and Spock doesn't know because Spock thinks he did the research, but he has somehow gotten a detail wrong, and McCoy is never going to let him forget it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
and then you get what is I think sort of a fun scene, but also kind of a notorious. I think when you think of Star Trek V.
Yep.
There's some parts where you're like, huh.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody thinks of the good stuff right away. I think you think of row, row, row your boat.
Yes.
You think of a fan dance that should be for really only fans. Let's keep it off the big screen. And the terrible finale. But row, row, row your boat scene is sort of, to me, notorious. I was kind of going like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I'm watching it next to the Apple Blossom Queen, I'm like, okay, we're 2 scenes in here. This is a lot of weird.
They're singing "Row, row, row your boat." That's right. I did like how they threw out some other songs. Pack Up Your Troubles. Moon over Rigel. Did you hear him say Rigel 7? Did you hear Shatner say Rigel 7? I was like, come on, dude. How many times they say Rigel in the original series? Have you forgotten already?
You can't say Kyle. Why are you surprised?
Right, Kyle from Rigel 7. Yeah. But they always do that when you come up with a list of 3 things. One of them is a made up one that's an alien sound.
I like
one, right?
that. I wish they still did that.
Yes. It totally fits with the thing we grew up loving, which is those lists of 3 that one of them is an alien thing.
Yeah, do that shit. This is what we were bitching about while I was about Strange New Worlds. Get back to throwing some of that shit in. Don't make everything a 2024 reference.
Yes. Well, speaking of references that are too old, I will say this. I mean, I think we all got this then when they decide to go to bed, and he's like, "Good night, Bones. Good night, Jim. Good night, Captain. Good night, Spock." And then it's a Waltons. It's the end of every Waltons episode, right? And then he's like, "Life is not a dream, Captain." He's like, "I don't know. I just don't know." So that's kind of cute, right? But
there's kind of a running bit that Shatner does through this movie of just being like, I just don't know what to do. Just like shaking his head through the whole movie.
I just can't.
As I am in the theater.
That's exactly right. So now we're going to meet our big bad boy Klingons in this. They show up in another bird of prey. Sigh. Another bird of prey. They destroy an Earth probe, which looks just like Pioneer 10 or Voyager 2 or whatever.
That was fun. I like that.
Little target practice, and then luckily they're bored. He's wanting some action. Old Mr. Adventure wants some action because everybody else's career is running down, but not him. He wants some action. And luckily they get news about hostages on Nimbus 3, a Klingon, a Federation, Romulans. So I don't know what that means. I'm assuming it's Romulan, right? So like
I think he was doing the Declaration of Independence from the Omega Glory.
Ye Plabnista, ye Humana, ye Romulans. That's exactly right. Oh boy, that's a good call. Well done. So he's like, this is my chance for glory. So we know the Klingons are going to be involved, which is great. Now we're back to Yosemite Park, and they're evacuating Kirk and Spock and McCoy. Yeah, because there's Nimbus 3. We got to go. He's like, well, why did you just call me on the communicator? She's like, because you forgot to bring it. Oh, I did. I wonder why I did that. And then they do the very responsible pack out your trash. Very responsible. Leave it better than you found it. I suppose that's even in the 23rd century. Good for them.
Yep.
And then I think we get, remember how I talked in the last podcast about my favorite prestige visual shot in that movie is the Enterprise turning around the space station with the moon in the background and the Earth below. We get the prestige shot right here of them flying up to Enterprise, and the Enterprise is backlit by the full moon. We're seeing it from behind, and that's a good shot. That's probably the best visual shot of this whole movie, I think.
It's a good / weird shot.
It's weird.
But I do like it. It's striking.
If I was going to want like a picture from this movie on a poster, it'd probably be that one, right? Yep. And I would just say, "What's that from?" And I was like, "I don't remember what that's from." I probably would say that.
No, it looks cool. It looks weird, but it looks cool.
Yep. And then Bones, I love this. Bones says, Kirk says, all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer by. And Bones like, Melville. And Spock's like, nope. I can't remember the name he has, but it's funny how he corrects him. And it's like, he's like, Spock says, I'm well versed in the classics. And McCoy's like, well, then how come you didn't know row, row, row your boat?
Touche.
I think that's good. Or marshmallow. That's the time to drop it on a marshmallow thing on him. You think it's a marshmallow, do you? Well, yeah.
I read that in my extensive Butchipedia research last night that when this movie came out, they released some sort of marshmallow.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't remember that at all, but I would totally buy one.
I would buy one right now if it was a 30-year-old marshmallow, 35-year-old marshmallow. I'd buy it right now. I don't know if I'd eat it, but I'd buy it. That's true. That's hilarious. All right, so they get orders to go to they get orders to go to Nimbus 3. First, they're in another great comedic moment. They just were out camping. They're in the turbo lift. They're on the way to the bridge, and Kirk's like, boy, I could use a shower. And Spock just looks at him and looks him down and goes, yes. That is so good. Yes.
That was hilarious.
So again, they're doing pretty good with hitting comedy bits on this. We're getting bits and pieces. They don't all land, but some of them are pretty funny, I think. So
I think it's funny. It's just such a weird way to start a major motion picture.
Yes. Yeah. He's telling a story, and I don't know that he's a great storyteller, William Shatner, is what I'm saying. So So they have to go there. They're like, look, there's 3 hostages. It's a very tense situation. It's not that we need Enterprise. We need Kirk. That means your ship's going because we need you to sort this out.
I remember Butch that I think the reason I was in town was I was about to go to my 3 weeks in the summer National Guard thing.
Oh, yes, yes.
And I remember reading the novel for Star Trek V while I was in Yakima on the, because you're out in the desert doing anti-tank infantry stuff.
Fun.
And during the downtime, you're chilling it, you're out camping in the dirt for 3 weeks. So you're getting Kirk adjacent. But I remember reading the novel tie-in for Star Trek V and really thinking it was good. So I wonder when we do Is That a Trek in Your Pocket coverage of the Star Trek V novel, I wonder if we'll think the story is a little better then, because I don't think I've read it since. But
well, shall I tell you the good news or the bad news?
Is it coming up soon, or is it not in our...
Yeah, we are not going to do the novel for Star Trek V. It's after number 50, so...
Oh, it is? You're kidding. It can't be.
Well, hold on.
Because, they would sometimes sneak those movie ones in without numbering them.
Yeah, I'm looking. Star Trek 3... Dwells in the Crucible. Yeah, I don't see Star Trek 4 or Star Trek 5 in here. So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Okay.
But either way, we can do the novel at some point. After we finish those 50, we're going to do that for sure. All right, so here's the thing. So then they get the briefing on the bridge of the hostages. We learn about General Cord, who was supposedly legendary commander, but now he's out of favor with the Klingons. That's how he got this shit duty on Nimbus 3. I hope when they put me out of pasture, I get a better place than Cord got. And then we don't get news on St. John Talbot or what's her face, Caitlin Dar, but instead we get a videotape. And the videotape shows Caitlin Dar explaining, yes, we've been taken hostage by the followers of the Galactic Light, blah, blah, blah. And then we see this Vulcan, and he's talking, he's saying very important things like, mark no mistake, I will not be I must be taken seriously, blah, blah, blah. And Spock, gets a look at his face, and then puts a close-up of the Vulcan up on his screen, and they're like, what's wrong, Spock? Have you seen a ghost? And he says, perhaps I have, Captain. Perhaps I have. Which is cool.
It's Caitlin Dar, spelled Caitlin.
Yes, that's right. Caitlin Dar, yes.
And she inexplicably, during this video, just walks down the stairs, does a 180, and goes back up the stairs. I'm like, what the hell is she doing? Like, I
Get her
guess
steps
Shatner
in for the day.
Shatner must have said, move around, don't just stand there. So she does this kind of completely unnecessary movement. But yeah, it's like, okay. And the way it's presented as this shithole outpost, failed experiment, blah, blah, blah. Why does Cybok think that all 3 governments are going to drop what they're doing? And why does he need all 3 governments? He doesn't. He just wants a starship. Why does he think anyone's even going to give a shit?
Well, we're supposed to be led to believe that it's a shit detail, but the fact that that's the one place where there's a person from each government means that none of the 3 governments will take a risk that something bad's going to happen there. And so I don't know why we wouldn't go, yeah, so what? So we lost St. John Talbot. Poor St. John's gone, so too bad.
I think the whole Nimbus 3 part is completely unnecessary.
Well, it's a MacGuffin for sure, right? I mean,
but it's not a good MacGuffin.
No,
you know
it's
what I mean?
not.
Like, you could have had literally any other excuse to get a starship.
Yep.
You could have stole it because it was in such bad shape. No one was watching it. You could have, attacked a moon output. I mean, it really doesn't matter.
I think
you could have sent a big distress call.
But the
Nimbus 3 stuff, I don't like it.
I think what we know for sure is that Shatner is determined to get horse riding in this. So they're cooking up a reason to ride some horses, is what they're doing. And so that's what we're going to do, is that we get a briefing on the Vulcan. He was seeking forbidden knowledge. He was one of the keenest intellects that Spock had ever known. He was banished, never to return. He believed that Vulcans should follow their emotions. We learned about that in which one of our Star Trek novels, the Romulan Way, right? That there were still that's why the Romulans left, is because they were the people who didn't agree that they
And
should abandon
frankly,
emotions.
the guy on Nimbus 3 who's closely guarding his holes, I guess,
Yes.
for lack of a better word. Why does he assume that laughing Cybok is Vulcan? I would have thought he was Romulan, but
An excellent point. Yes, exactly. He says you're Vulcan, and at some point when he takes his hat off, he says you're Vulcan, and the Cybok does not disagree with that. So
No.
he kind of yes, I am Vulcan, and then he laughs, and he's like, oh, it's a laughing Vulcan kind of a thing. But yeah, but he could totally be lying, because back then we couldn't tell the difference. Now you just got to look for the brow ridges, right? And
the shoulder pads.
And the shoulder pads, that's right. So although Spock's going to rock some shoulder pads in this movie, so let's be honest, it's the 80s. So there we go. So they arrive, and they pretend that they have no transmission ability, so they can't call down. They decide because the transporters don't work, they can't just beam the hostages out. So they're going to have to go down by shuttle and rescue them, which is, again, a good MacGuffin that they've built into the story. The Enterprise's transporters don't work, which never happened in the original series. So,
Well, yeah. What'd you think of Harv Bennett as Admiral Cost Cutter?
It's funny how often the film execs get to be admirals in Star Trek movies. It happens a lot.
Does it?
Yeah. It happened in a couple of one of the admirals in Star Trek First Contact is one of the producers on that one too. So yeah, it's a whole thing. But Harv Bennett does fine. He's fine.
I meant to ask you. So there's a cute chick on the bridge. Is that Shatner's daughter?
It's Shatner's daughter. That's right. The one he hands his coat to is Shatner. Is his daughter. That's right. We see her again.
She's in a bunch of scenes. Well, every bridge scene.
Yes, that's right. She's the yeoman who he hands the broken captain's log recorder to. Right?
I am very glad he didn't say, "Well, since our shore leave was interrupted, I can't wait to get back on some lovely
daughter."
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, because that could have been terrible. That's right. So they decide that they got to land a ways away, but that means they're going to have to hike in. How they're going to get there? They look over and see some horses. Ta-da! We have that problem solved. So then Captain Chekhov is having one of those. He's the ambassador who sucks, or the admiral who sucks, who Cybok is just trying to talk sense to, and he's getting the runaround from. So Chekhov was watching closely when that Papa J. Fox was doing stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll just be Papa J. Fox. It'll be great. Yeah.
You know what I thought this time, Butch? I was like, because it's fun. Now this is Captain Chekhov, and you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. Now we learn in Amok Time that Spock was legendary even by the start of season 2.
Yes, it's true.
And we can only assume he's gained even more renown since.
Oh yeah.
You're telling me his brother Cybok is not aware that Spock is on the Enterprise? I mean, that seems like pretty basic news. I don't know.
It does, but what we don't know is whether Cybok cares about world event or galactic events, right?
I guess
he knows
not, yeah.
enough to get a ship from there, but he doesn't. But he might not care or might not be paying attention or whatever. But yeah, that's the thing. As soon as they hear Enterprise, like, well, yeah. So hey, can you put your first officer on and stuff like that?
Well, I mean, every Klingon asshole knows that's Kirk's ship.
Yes, it does, and even though it's a brand new version of it, right? So they're even aware. But I will say the Klingons get regular intelligence reports probably, and Cybok doesn't care. So that's my best guess. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on that. How about that? So.
Yeah.
So anyway, back on the planet, they are trying to steal some horses, and they need a distraction. And this is, like I said, it was not in the original script. Somebody suggested it as a joke. I think David Livingston suggested it as a joke, and they ran with it. And so they said, hey, Nichelle, you want to do a fan dance? And they're like, cool. And it's backlit by the moon and stuff like that. And the men down on the planet are dutifully like, oh, I haven't seen a girl in like a week. Oh, okay, let's go see some naked girls and blah, blah, blah. And then,
Well, I mean, it just, again, I'm probably going to sound like a dick here, but, use a stunt double or so. I mean, it definitely does not sound like her.
No, and it's not her voice. Yeah, that's the worst thing. There's no reason not to use her voice. She's a professional singer, right? That's the thing, because you can't really see it. You just see a silhouette. But we know what Uhura's singing voice sounds like because we've heard it. Let us hear her singing voice. That's the thing.
Or something close to it. Yeah. It's not even close.
Even auto-tune. We don't care. Just do whatever. So the long and the short of it is that it's just a distraction. They pull a gun. They pull a fast one on those guys. They steal their horses. Whiskey for my men, beer for my horses, and off they go to take over the camp, the Paradise City. I still can't get over that. And so they get there. They ride up there. The shooting starts because they shine a spotlight on them, and they realize that it's not their group, and so shooting starts. The Federation has little clear plastic shields. Their guys do, and phaser guns.
I kind of like this scene,
yeah.
Even though it feels like they said your budget for the scene is $100.
Yes.
But would you call it, now if you were going to start a rock band on Nimbus 3, would you call it Guns and Rocks maybe?
Guns and Rocks.
What do you think?
That's as close of a guess as I have to this. I will say when they're riding up, the line that we get that's a callback is Kirk goes, "Spock, yes, Captain. Be one with the horse. Yes, Captain." That's fun. Yeah.
I also like the somewhere in here. It's been hours since I watched this movie, but "Hold Your Horse, Captain" was fun.
Yes, so we get a couple of those.
Yeah,
that's what Shatner brings, because Shatner's a horse aficionado, so he's bringing the horse jokes, and that's fine. And I think they mostly work. But the best part is,
but can you believe in 10 years we've gone from the majestic wonder and awe of the motion picture to "Hold Your Horse, Captain," and "Row, row, row your boat," and beans and bourbon jokes.
It's very pedestrian. I will give you that. The one thing we do get that's fun is that one of the bad guys rears up on Spock in front of him, and Spock Vulcan nerve pinches the horse.
I don't like that at all.
It's kind of fun. I mean, it doesn't make any sense that it would work, but it's fun that they do it. Because if it could be done, then Spock definitely would have done it. And I don't know if it could be done, but he does it. And I remember laughing when he did it. I thought that was fun.
I remember laughing when he did it, but I think maybe I would just grab the guy and pull him off the horse, and I wouldn't nerve pinch. But whatever. I mean,
So then we get the big, you've all been waiting for it, the mini boss level on this. Kirk goes into the bar by himself, and the Catwoman jumps on him. Now, we saw earlier people playing pool on a lit pool table that has water on it.
Which is funny. That's a pool.
It is funny. I will give him that. And it seems like it was very shallow water. But when Kirk throws her in this pool table, as it were, it seems pretty deep. And apparently cats can't swim because she drowns like instantaneously. So that's a KO too, I wrote down.
Yeah, maybe she got a concussion when she landed and drowned in 1 inch of water.
Face in the water. She's going to drown if she's unconscious. That's right. So the day is theirs, or so it looks, and they rescue the hostages, but then the hostages pull phasers on them, and they're done in, right? Because that's the one thing that could do them in is that, we're here, and then St. pulls a gun and says, "Would you please hand over your weapons?" And now they have the captain hostage, and with the captain hostage, they can make all the others lay down their guns, right?
Yep.
So that works, because I was like, how did they end up in a situation where they get captured? But that's the way to do that. They get captured by the hostages they're there to rescue, because the hostages have switched sides, and they didn't know it, and we didn't know it, and we don't know why.
And even though I think Kirk is an excellent starship captain, if not a good taxi driver, he is not the best at keeping himself in the ship from being captured. That's sort of that's his thing.
And
that's what he does. That's
very TOS, right? To have the ship get captured. It's very TOS, right? I'm just going to call him Dr. Severin for the rest of the movie. It's fine. So Cybok and his followers are celebrating, and then Cybok sees Spock, and I wrote reunited, and it doesn't feel too good. Spock tries to arrest him on there. He's like, "You're under arrest for 17 violations of neutral zone treaty." And Luckenbill is really good at acting because he's playing to his crowd. It's like, "I would, but Mr. Spock, but however, I'm not through violating neutral zone treaty." And then he kind of looks around and he looks around. He's really good. Luckenbill is really good in this role. I think he kind of saves this a little bit. This movie, I think.
He's an interesting villain because and I like when he says, "Spock, you developed a sense of humor,"
yes.
right? And he's right about that.
Yeah.
But he's not a villain we don't like. We don't hate him. And I don't even know how menacing he is. There's a part later where you go, "Oh shit," and Kirk's like, "Oh no, I'm dealing with a madman," right? And
that's one of my favorite scenes too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that unpredictability can make someone a menacing villain, but he's not motivated by hostility or malice. He's just kind of a crazy cult leader. Yeah, and so he's likable at the same time, and you can see he's well-intentioned. Yes. He's sort of like a therapist run amok.
Yes, and he doesn't have any desire to kill anybody. He is threatening to do it, but it's clear that he did not want shooting to start, right?
Right.
He's like horrified when the shooting starts because he doesn't want to do that. He thinks he can outsmart everybody. And Spock tells everybody that Cybok's the smartest person he ever knew, one of the smartest people he ever knew, right? So,
and that's high praise from someone who we take, what they say seriously.
Yeah, and somebody who we think is the smartest guy in the room. What else? I mean, Vonda McIntyre thinks Spock's the smartest person in the room, unless it's Omni. Hey, I'm off topic. There we go. Okay.
He thinks he's the sexiest guy in the room.
That's right. So Cybok offers Spock a chance to join him. He demurs. So they got to get on the shuttle and go back to planet. The Klingons are in the area. The shuttle's en route. Chekhov calls Red Alert when they hear the Klingons are there and they've cloaked.
Are we at war? What the hell is with these Klingon commanders? Just like, I'm going to go kill them. I'm going to blow up the Enterprise all the time.
Well, I think that's a problem. If you're the Klingon Empire, you have a lot of lower commanders trying to start intergalactic incidents that you don't want to get involved in, right?
Yeah, but also think of some other reason. Don't use the same reason the guy in Star Trek 3 did, basically.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yep. I'm going to move up the charts. I'm going to make a name for myself by doing this kind of thing. So it's not. I agree with you. It's not good, but that's where we're at right now. They're on the way up to the ship. They realize there's a cloaked Klingon ship there, which means they can't do their normal docking procedure, which is lower the shields and use the tractor beam to bring the shuttle aboard, which we've never seen them do with actual special effects, but we've seen them do it. We've also seen them not do it. Right before, where they don't make a big deal about onboarding and offboarding. But usually when they're coming on, it's very slow and you get, there's probably a tractor beam going there, right? Kind of a thing. It makes sense. Yeah, you don't want to have the pilot wreck the thing and stuff like that. So
it's, I never had, I'm okay with saying you use the tractor beam, whatever. Fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I don't know how necessary that would be. I always get it always feels to me like they don't really seem to ever know one scene to the next in Star Trek movies just how big the Enterprise is.
Oh, that shuttle deck is way too small, because if you look at the scale of the people in the shuttles and you look at the scale of the shuttle to the ship, that whole thing is miles off. They have to be like 10% that size. Right, it's way too big, and that's very noticeable. But I'm writing down that shuttle's way too big. But I'm noticing that what I like about it is that Kirk is always having to make stuff up on the fly, and so they do. He comes up with emergency landing plan B, as in barricade. And they're like, he can't be serious again for the second time. Scotty's saying he can't be serious. And then he says, and then Cybok goes to Sulu, who's the pilot, and says, "You've done this before, right?" And he's like, "Actually, it's my first attempt," which is great. That's the one good Sulu line from this movie, I think.
Yeah, it's like a dumb kind of fun scene, and someone liked it because they did it again in Nemesis with the we got to crash the shuttle into the ship, doing a crazy maneuver. But yeah, I mean, it's, whatever. And this is what I'm saying. It feels like something they would do in an episode where we give them a lot of leeway and we cut them a lot of slack.
Yes.
But it just feels like it's like it's getting kind of watered down from just a movie or two ago, quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, I will say on the trailers, when they show that bird of prey decloaking and all of a sudden it's Uhura's going, oh no, it's bird of prey. It's very tense looking in the trailers. I don't know that it comes across as tense on screen in the movie as it did in the trailer. I had high hopes for this in the trailer. After the trailer, the movie is like, it's all right, because they crash land on the deck, and then they go away at warp, and Claw the Klingon says, oh, he's good, which of course it's Chekhov and the helmsman who made them, who barely got themselves away before they got hit by the torpedo. But it's very famous for Kirk to get praise for things that his whole crew should get praise for.
Well, sure, but I wish they wouldn't have this thing about the Enterprise always going toe to toe with these little scout ships and these inexperienced rookie commanders. Like, why can't we have a worthy opponent for the Enterprise? I mean, the ship in Star Trek 3 had 12 Klingons on it. This one's got like 4 on the whole ship.
Yeah.
And some ass. I mean, they're just like, they're out there shooting garbage. They're not even, and he's to even think you could just come in and forget that you're going to start an intergalactic war by attacking the Enterprise. We'll just give you a pass on that one. But to think that you would even have a chance, I feel like, the Enterprise would just be swatting it away. Like it's just like, there's no threat there. You're having a little scout ship with 3 people on it come after. I don't care what kind of shape the Enterprise is in. It's not a problem for the Enterprise.
And it's going to get worse because essentially the same era of bird of prey is going to destroy the Enterprise D in generations. And that's inconceivable. That's like, and I get that they came up with a MacGuffin for why that works too, but it's just nonsense. It's just that they fell in love with the look of that model, and so they keep using that model, and instead of, which is weird because they designed that model and it's versatile and stuff like that. But the Katinga class, the D6 class, is much cooler looking, and it's a match for the Enterprise. They used it in motion picture. They just don't want to use it, and for whatever reason, and until Star Trek 6. And I will give them credit. When it comes time to take the Chancellor of the Klingon High Council to meet up with Kirk, they at least put him in their big, heavy cruiser. So good for them.
God.
If they'd have put him in a freaking bird of prey, which, by the way, they have a bird of prey in that movie too, but we'll get there. I'm sorry, we'll get there. It's fine. We're going to get there in like 2029. It's fine. But we'll get there. Oh, shit. Maybe it's this year for that. Maybe that's No, we're not there.
That was like 90.
That was 90. That's 91. That's 91. You're right. We're not there yet. Okay. So here's the thing. So they get away, and then everybody on the shuttle is kind of like a little dazed because the shuttle crashed and so they're shaken up a little bit. So Kirk gets up and Sybok gets up.
They're not shaken up. They're all unconscious.
That's right. But of course, who's the one who always wakes up first and falls asleep last? It's Kirk. So Kirk wakes up and Sybok wakes up. Sybok's got the gun, says, you're going to take me to the bridge and we're going to do this thing. And as they walk out, he gets the drop on Sybok, knocks the gun away, and now he's going to go toe-to-toe with a Vulcan. And we've learned before that even young Kirk has no chance against a Vulcan. He really has no chance against Sybok, and it goes pretty much that way. And then Spock... Yeah, but go ahead.
I'm sorry. I would have liked to have seen some this side of paradise level Kirk getting knocked around. He gets knocked around for a second, but he was getting ragdolled by Spock,
But the thing is, Sybok doesn't want to hurt him. He seems to be content to restrain him, but he doesn't want to hurt him, right? That's the thing. Sybok's a pacifist, it looks like, right? And so Spock is also a pacifist, but not in this side of paradise when he was trying to come out from under the spores. He's lost that, right? So it takes a special event to get a Vulcan to actually go to town on you, right? So Sybok's not going to do that. And Spock has a drop on him. Kirk's like, shoot him. Why aren't you shooting him? And he won't shoot him. So they get put in the brig. They're trapped. And so to the brig they go together. And that's fun, I guess. Or it's going to be fun. It's not fun yet. So then back up on the bridge, Uhura and Sulu get the Sybok treatment. Scotty sees what's going on and skedaddles to hide somewhere in the bowels of the ship. And now they're in the brig. And this is a pretty good scene, too, as far as humor goes, where it's like, I'd have knock you on your ass, Kirk says to Spock. And McCoy's like, do you want me to hold him, Jim? Love that.
Great. Tremendous. It's great.
Love that. It's like, yeah. And then he says, you asked me to kill my brother. He's like, I happen to know you don't have a brother. He's like, technically, that's true. See, I have a half brother. Son of a bitch, which is fun. And then we get the backstory on how he was the son of a Vulcan princess in Sark, presumably before Spock was born. We assume this is Spock's older brother, right?
Yeah, right. So somewhere along the line, Sarek's first wife died, obviously.
Right. Yep.
And then he married Amanda, and then he had Spock. So presumably, there's probably like, I don't know, what do you think, a 10-year difference in age maybe between Cyborg and Spock?
Yeah,
like that?
I think that's true. Yeah, I'm going to guess she got eaten by a space amoeba. So we'll just, my money's on space amoeba. We'll find out when we do the novelization. Maybe we'll explain. All right. So
well, we've seen from every time we've ever been to Vulcan, that's a planet of hot chicks. So yes. I'm sure she was a good-looking woman. Yeah,
could cut a figure in a sheer white dress is what I'm saying. So then Kirk says, "You never cease to amaze me, Spock," and Spock's like, "Nor I myself." Which, again, a nice line. And then Sulu and Uhura are now plotting a new course. Chekhov's like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, just listen to him. You really should listen to him. And then Chekhov gets a treatment. All of this is happening off screen. He says, I know your secret pain. And then next thing you know, the whole MacGuffin of how he controls people or convinces people to come over to his side, is the whole point of how he's taking control of the ship. Do I like it? I don't. It's like our big three are strong, or at least two of them are strong enough to resist this. But of course, the lower level ones all fall for it, right? That's the whole thing, and that's a little.
Yeah, it makes them all look like idiots, yes. Brainless idiots.
Yep.
And also, we're gonna see we're gonna see him try it on the big three.
Yes.
And he does it on McCoy, and I'll talk more about that when we get there. But even then, he's just like. Discards McCoy like a dirty dish rag. Like, see, that's how it's done. And McCoy's sitting there like devastated.
Derp. Yes, exactly. Yeah, wrecked. Yeah, exactly. So it all happens off screen. So we basically now believe that everybody in the crew, at least the key people in the crew, are now working for Cybok, except for our big three and Scotty, who's parts unknown, weight unknown. So
yeah. Hey, how many episodes do you think, counting this one, do we get dreamy Sulu, where it's like, oh, we can't do that, it'd be wrong, or whatever, that Sulu, because that's who we're getting again.
Yes, it sure is gloomy. Yeah, so I can think of at least 4 or 5. Yeah, that's his go-to. Yeah, where you play the music.
But Uhura had some fun being just batshit crazy Uhura. Oh, yes. We're going to see that with Scotty in a minute, but yeah, like, oh, listen to him, Pavel. Chekhov should have been like, no, I'm not listening. You're not changing course. I hate the whole.
The fact that you're like this is the reason I'm not listening, is because I know that's a problem. So, yeah. So now we're back in this brig, and Kirk is standing on Spock's shoulders, trying to get through a ceiling panel, and Spock's like, this isn't a good idea, and he gets zapped. And he says, yeah, so I could have told you it was going to happen, and you should have told me. And McCoy's like, he did say it was going to happen. And so they say, well, they tested it on the most inventive person they could find. And he said, that person didn't happen to have pointed ears and a predilection for getting his captain into trouble, did he? And Spock helps him up and says, he did have pointed ears.
That's a great, fantastic
and well delivered, too. I think that's great. Yeah. What they had to work with, they did.
And they're going to push it on the next gag, which is suddenly our big three turn into brainless idiots who have to spell out the entire message. But that's a minor quibble.
The Morse code thing, yes, exactly. So we're hearing Morse code through a wall, and they realize stand back. And, stand back, and then a boom, the hole appears, and Scotty appears again from the trailer. What's the matter? Yeah, you not know a jailbreak when you see one. So that's fine. It's fun. And then they go through the bowels of the ship, and they're like, look, we have to figure out how to get a message to Starfleet. And he's like, well, you got to get to the top of the ship. You go this way, take a left, 2 rights, up, and then all the way to the top. And they're like, Scotty, you're a miracle worker. He's like, it's no miracle at all. I know this ship like the back of my hand.
Bonk.
And right then hits his head, and he's out. And I think that's hilarious.
It's hilarious. There's no way they would design the ship this way.
No,
but it's hilarious.
no, that whole corridor of tubes that would all get cut off when the bulkheads close doesn't make any sense at all.
No.
But they've been doing that in all of the movies. They did that in 2. They did that in 4 or 3 rather. They did that and I guess they did it in 2 and this one and 6. They do it in all of them, where they just go corridors that look cool but are not functional.
Yeah.
So
that is a great gag. I will always laugh at that gag. It's awesome.
Yep. And so now they got to climb. I put KO2 bulkhead. That's what I put in there. And then now they got to climb the ladder. And McCoy says, "Well, some of us get off on long, dangerous climbs," which is fun. Funny. And then they're climbing up the ladder, and then Spock, who is broken off from them, inexplicably arrives from above with the jet boots. Kirk gets on, and then they go down to where McCoy is. He's like, "I'll wait for the next car." He's like, "We're not splitting up. We're getting on." So he gets on there, and then it starts to drop because it weighs too much. And like, it seems that I've miscalculated the weight. And McCoy says, "Must have been all those marshmallows."
Now, I got to say, I didn't, when they went to the planet, they're incognito.
Yep.
And they thought, we'll throw on these butt ugly gray sweaters that make us look fat. Make us look stupid.
With the foot pads on the shoulders, so just perfect for standing on shoulders. Yes.
They make us. We got moobs all around, guts, everything. They're awful, and then we're gonna stay in them for half the movie, so you really get a nice look of how shitty we look. In every scene, and I hate it.
Yep. Could have come up with something else, is what I'm saying.
Anything else?
Well,
a dress, a muumuu. A Hawaiian shirt. Anything would have been better.
A muumuu. How about a Hawaiian muumuu? That would have been great. Okay, so back to the scene. First of all, I completely agree. Back to the scene. Did you get Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory vibes, and they're nearly crashing that ceiling? And I'm like, this is fizzy lifting drinks all over again. It's like
I did not, but but your point is well taken.
Maybe it's because there was a marshmallow reference. That's right. So, and then Kirk, they reach the top level. It's kind of the Enterprise's version of 10 Forward from Next Generation, where it's like a lounge, and they call up a computer, and they call Starfleet, and they get through to Starfleet, and Starfleet's like, okay, we'll send somebody on the way, except they're not talking to Starfleet. They're talking to that Klingon girl on the Klingon bird of prey.
Yeah, I just thought of this. It is a very cool lounge, by the way. I love it. I was like, I would be spending all my off time there having a brandy or something.
Give me the brandy!
Yeah. But, in the old show, TOS stands, I believe, for the old show.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Even with an actual crew of 400, you could easily hide, even if they were searching for you for long periods on this giant ship. For some reason, if you have 3 people looking for you on an empty Enterprise, not a problem. I don't get any of this. Why couldn't they just easily elude the people searching for you? You could hide behind a red mesh screen in engineering.
Yes.
That's,
well,
you could duck.
It's implied that they had to go to this deck to use the transmitter. And not only that, but when they use the transmitter, then the people on the bridge know where they're at. Right?
I guess.
It doesn't make any sense. You want to hide out for maybe a little while, right? I guess is the whole thing.
Well, they're hurtling towards the center of the galaxy, which is 6 blocks away, so I guess they do have to hurry.
See, now we're right back to the whole things are too close, right? I mean, we know that they've been to the outer edge of the galaxy, and now they're going to go to the center of the galaxy. We know that's about 50,000 light years because it's 100,000 light years across, and we know that takes longer than a couple hours. Right? Even at warp 9.975. But maybe they did warp 14.1. Maybe they did that again.
It's terrible. It's really upsetting.
Yes.
Yeah.
It breaks my brain. But again, Shatner's writing this, and Shatner is not thinking these things through, right? Shatner's thinking story and not thinking logistics. So then, meanwhile, while they're up there doing that, the Cybok is giving the crew, he comes to give the 3 of them the treatment, right? He's like, I'm a visionary. They said the Earth was flat, but it's round. They said the sound barrier can't be reached. They said the warp speed couldn't be achieved. And they also said the Great Barrier can't be breached. Well, we're going to prove them wrong.
I don't think any of that was relevant either, to make his point.
No, exactly. But so then we do get a quick interlude of Scotty and Uhura in sick bay, and I put Mr. Lovey Dovey, Lovey Dovey, Lovey Dovey. Yeah. Thank you for calling me out on that. That was a bad joke, and you should call the police on that one. So apologize.
Well, I was distracted looking for my black cat in the dark. But yes, was that a Miri callback?
It was a Miri callback. That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
very good.
So
you know what? You know what would have been fun, Butch?
Yes.
In the Miri universe, finding Miri, because then it could have been Mirror, Mirror, Miri. Would have been the name of
Miri, Mirror, if nothing else. That's right. So then I put Heaven is a Placer in the center of the galaxy. It is. So then they're going to do the treatment on each of these. First of all, first. Yeah, go ahead. We got another one. Here it is.
Would you say we're knocking on heaven's door wow right now?
Yes, I would say it in Bob Dylan voice, but you're saying it in Axl Rose voice. That's fine.
I'm keeping your Guns N' Roses thing going.
Yeah, that's right. It is a Guns N' Roses reference. That's right. We have to stick with that. So here's the thing. So they're going to show each of them their secret pain, and then he's going to win them over. First up, Bones. His secret pain is his dying father, TJ himself, by the way, or David. I'm not sure which.
Right. So here's what I thought watching it this time, because it is a sort of poignant scene that we have no emotional investment in at all.
Yeah.
Here was an opportunity, I think, to introduce the long-teased Joanna McCoy.
Yes, absolutely.
Did you think that?
I did not think that. That might have been a good idea to do the thing that's long-awaited. Of course, Shatner doesn't know anything about the long-awaited daughter because... Yeah, he hasn't thought of that.
Well, he was going to fall in love with her in the original Way to Eden. It was going to be Joanna McCoy.
Yep, that's right.
She's in some of the books that are, apocryphal.
Crisis on Centaurus. That's right.
Yeah, but I mean, instead we get just a random, oh yeah, my dad. And also, it's not much of a moral quandary. Your dad's suffering. You pull the plug. I don't think it, I get that. Okay, 6 months later they find a cure. Your dad was begging to be killed. I don't know if he could have taken 3 more days. I don't think it's like an upsetting scene, I guess, but I don't know. They could have done something with Joanna that would have been really cool.
Yeah, that would have been fun, and it would have been something that would have been an Easter egg, right? Because people have been waiting for that. So here's something that I have to say about this. So now McCoy sees his father die. Actually, he kind of physician-assisted suicides him a little bit, putting him out of his misery. And then we learned that not long after they found a cure and his dad could have been saved. I was like, his dad looked like he'd had a good long life, right? But he's very verklempt about this. So he sort of joins the team, right? And now it's Spock's turn, and Spock, he's like, I know you.
But if I may, Cybok's like, you've taken your first step. The next steps we'll take together. So anyway, that's how I do it. Everyone's got their own secret pain. I just was like, that is the worst.
It's a little bit of a huckster thing, yes. So then he turns to Spock, and of course he knows Spock's pain. He says, and we see Spock watches his own birth happen, and then they take the baby and they hand the baby right out of the womb to his father, who's played by Jonathan Simpson in this, who is a dead ringer for a younger Sarek. When they hand that baby to the guy who's supposed to be Sarek, it looks like Mark Leonard.
I like that. However, I'm like, how are we getting this memory?
So that's the guy right there.
No, I know, but how are we getting this memory from Spock? The second he's being born, he's got this visual of the whole scene in his memory of, you know what I mean? I get it. It's like your dad wasn't overjoyed when you were born. That's a bummer.
Yeah, and it's just a general stand-in for Dad never thought of me as a full Vulcan kind of.
But again, you could have done better. You could have done the argument where he says, "I'm joining Starfleet," and Dad says, "I'm not talking to you then."
Yep. But you know what we wouldn't have had? We would have had Vulcan priestesses then. So that's what you miss out on right there. Actually, I don't think we get full Vulcan priestess. We get quasi Vulcan priestess in this.
We get Vulcan midwife.
That's right.
But they're both so short. It feels like they told them wrap it up. You know, you got 2 minutes for each of them. Like, we spent more on the asshole with the holes.
Yes, we did. It's true. The asshole with the holes.
Yeah. You know.
All right. So then he turns to Kirk and he thinking he's won Spock over. He turns to Kirk and says, "All right, it's your turn." He's like, "I'm not playing. I don't." It turns out I think my pain serves a valuable role in the person who I am. I need my pain. If we lose that, we lose ourselves.
We learned that in the "Give Me the Brandy" episode, right?
Exactly.
He does need his pain. We've learned that through the whole show.
That's one of the first episodes in Emily Finn is like episode 4. That's exactly right. So good for him for figuring that out, and he just won't play. And so they're like, "Well, I guess me and Spock will go to the bridge. You get to stay here." And Spock's like, "I'm not going either. You don't know me anymore. That was the kid you knew before, but I've come to grips now with my relationship with my dad and who I am. I'm over it. So you're wrong, so I'm not going." And then McCoy's like, "Yeah, I guess I'm not going either then." So good for McCoy for he fell under it, but then he came out from under it. But you know what? That's consistent because I'm thinking, you're not in the body is what I'm thinking, right? He was the one who fell for that too. So
yeah.
So it makes sense for him to be the one to fall and then come back out of it is what it is. So
I think Cyborg's getting sloppy. I think he's had so many dumb rubes that he has helped along the way, including our just dunce secondary characters, Uhura and Chekhov and Sulu, that he thinks he can just he phoned it in, basically. He didn't even, it was like he was hardly trying. He expects them all to just join hands and skip down the hall with them. It's not happening, pal.
Yeah,
this is the big three.
You can tell he's overconfident at this point. Yeah. And then he says, "Well, so when we get to the bear, we're going to go through it, and what's on the other side? God's on the other side." And I think this is another one of his great moments because Kirk says, "You're a madman." And then you can see Luckenbill, his performance. He's like, he considers whether he is for a second. You can see it on his face. Like he thinks, and he's like, "Am I?" And he seems like he's actually asking that question. Maybe I am, and maybe I'm not so sure of myself. And then he kind of composes himself. We'll see, which is interesting. But that like 5 seconds. If that's the scene he auditioned on, then that's the scene that got in the part. Because that's the look on his face when Kirk calls him a madman, and he's like, "Yeah, he knows he's a madman."
It's great.
Yeah, it's tremendous. I think that's the one of the best parts of this movie is that 5 seconds right there.
Now, we've seen the Outer Edge Galactic Barrier.
Yeah.
Which they did a billion times better in the fucking first episode.
Yes.
Pilot.
The pilot, that's right.
Old Star Trek 30 or 23 years earlier.
Yep.
Now, to get through this impenetrable center of the universe, center of the galaxy, you're going to have to go through some smoke. They don't even rock the ship. I really was like, that is the most underwhelming. You talk it up like no one can go there. No ship has ever survived. Oh, it's a curtain. Okay, cool. All right.
And it's blue, whereas the one at the outer edge of the galaxy is pink. I think the only thing I can take away from this is that there's not an actual barrier there. It's all mental, right? That the idea that you need a starship to get through there is you need a starship to think you have a chance to get through there, or maybe or whatever. So because it has no problem getting through. There's nothing there that's a physical threat to it, and we know that it doesn't take a starship because that damn bird of prey comes through no problem also, right?
And it just is like it just looks weird. I remember thinking it's so weird too because the special effects for V'ger and the cloud and V'ger were incredible.
Yes, top notch.
And this is like a smoke machine and a blue light.
Yeah, not even as good as the Mutara Nebula. I mean, it is. It's not. It's kind of embarrassing. But again, they had the special effects pulled out from under them when they had to switch houses. I can't really blame them for it, but I'm not going to praise it either. Right.
Well, I'm blaming somebody. I'm not blaming Shatner because I know that's not what he wanted. Yeah. He would have had, but I mean, I would have settled for shaking the camera like in the old show. You don't even have to move the set.
Just shake everybody jump left. Everybody, as Chapel, fall down and drop your tray. Somebody get Chapel up here. We need Chapel to fall down.
Hey, do we know why Chapel wasn't in any of these other movies? I mean, she's going to be in The Next Generation prominently.
She was only in the motion picture, right? She's in the motion picture, and then she's just not there anymore. And then
Why?
I don't know what they did. I think it was because she was connected to Roddenberry, and after the first movie, Roddenberry's kind of out. So I think I bet that's why, because she's
And
Roddenberry's wife.
were they married? They were married.
They
right?
were married. Yeah, I don't know if they were
Okay.
still married, but either way, that's probably what it is.
So it's a middle finger to Gene.
Yeah, exactly. So they get through the barrier, and now Kirk and Spock and McCoy come to the bridge, and they're like, and Sybok turns and says, "Well, I'm giving you the ship back." He's like, "No conditions." Yeah, no conditions. How do you know I'm not going to leave? He's like, "You're not going to leave. Look where we're at. You're going to stay here and figure this out too, because you got to know." And so that's cool, because you can tell Sybok is inherently not a bad guy, right? He's cooked up this situation, but he has no desire to do anything but just, you're going to stay here and you're going to let me do this. And if you're not going to stay here, then at least beam me down the planet and leave me here, probably is what he's going to say. Right?
Yeah, he's like, I just needed an Uber. You brought me here. That's
right.
all I wanted. I'm not lusting for power.
I'll even tip well at the Uber. I'll give you 5 stars. It'll be great. Right. So then they're like, well, we got to go on the planet. Don't just stand there. God's a busy man. Kirk is not buying this God thing. You can tell. And I think that the planet looks like a little bit like Monument Valley. Ironically, another barren waste, just like Nimbus 3 was. Kind of like, it's like nothing but sagebrush and rock there on this planet either, at the center of the galaxy.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me in 2001 when you see the weird, and I'm okay with it. But, I mean, of course, Kirk is not going to immediately just assume it's God, because how many godlike creatures have they run into and turned out to not be that? Apollo,
Yep.
They've come across giant hands and Abe Lincolns in space. They've encountered V'ger, which knew everything there was to know. I mean, all these things.
Yep.
So I totally get why Kirk's like, well, I'm not just gonna. I'm gonna wait and see here.
So they beam down. So Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Sybok beam down. Everybody else on the bridge is captivated watching this thing. Nothing is happening, but they are fascinated. They're riveted.
Shuttle down. They don't beam.
Oh, they
down.
shuttle down. That's right, because the transporters don't work. Thank you for the reminder of that. So everybody on the ship is captivated, but nothing's going on. Scotty, however, keep working on the transporter. He's still working on the transporter. And we note also, we look in the background and their sensors have picked up the Klingon bird of prey, which is interesting. Nobody on the bridge notices that they're there, but they're there. We know that they're there.
Yeah.
And then
we don't care that they're there, but we know that they're there.
Yep. And so the Sybok decides, instead of waiting, why don't we just call out in the wilderness, "We've come great distance to see you," kind of thing. And Spock's about to explain to him why maybe this isn't a bad thing. And then all of a sudden the sky goes dark and these rib cages pop up out of the ground, basically, for a little fantastic, not great, but fantastic set piece of where God is. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like, they're on the bridge. When they first see the planet, it's this blue, cool-looking kind of, light bright planet.
Yes.
And Sybok goes Shakari, and then the Romulan chick goes,
Vortavor,
and then the guest country star singers like Nashville, and
the Klingon should say Stovokor, but instead he says Qualse 2 or something like that.
Yeah, and then St. John St. John says Eden. I'm like, why? Nobody thinks this is Eden. And I thought it was weird in the way to Eden that they thought Eden was another planet, but we've already done this. But to call that, oh yeah, there's a planet, Eden.
Ooh,
I would have left that one
do
off.
You know what that's worth? Ooh, Eden's not a place on Earth, is what we're saying. So
okay, all right, that's fair enough.
That's not fair.
That's but not yeah, good. and then when, because Sybok had been saying it's where all this, every race has a myth about heaven or the wherever creation was started. Okay.
Yes.
But then if we're thinking then this is heaven, which they don't want to say, I'm sure, so they say Eden. Okay, This is Eden. Then to have these weird rib cages pop out like it's on the planet where the alien is, Alien, is strange. because I'm not getting a heavenly, peaceful vibe. I would have, they're in a desert wasteland with rib cages popping out of the rocks. I have no sense other than that this can only be a malevolent whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. But that's okay, because I think what you're seeing here is Cybok is so fixated on I was right, that he's not going to notice that. But Kirk sees through it immediately, right? And I think Bones also doesn't see through it very quickly either. So God appears, and God looks just like you'd expect him to look. Old guy with white beard and white hair. George Murdoch looking mofo. And so they're explaining how they got there on a starship, and he's like, "Oh, this starship, is it capable of, has it got 4 on the floor? Is it, is it an 8-cylinder? Seat 6? Lots of leg room, plenty of room in the trunk. Yeah, we're good.
You can go places with it, you say? Do you think it could take me?
Can it carry my essence to the galaxy?" He's like, "Great, we'll be your crusaders for you." And Kirk's like, hello. By the way, I do like there's a blue sky beam. That's going to come into play a lot in the movies after this movie in '89. The blue sky beam that goes out into space from the planet. How many times are we going to see that? Sometimes, it's more than I can even count now. It's amazing. But this is the earliest one I can think of. So,
well, and if this, whatever it is on the planet, they're with the Moses haircut or whatever.
Yeah.
If he can't even get himself to the ship in orbit, then he's like the 63rd most powerful opponent they've ever come across.
I was like, reach out your green hand and pull it down, for crying out loud. Am I right?
Put it in a cube for the Halloween episode. Do something.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
the guy's helpless.
I mean,
the guy is almost totally helpless.
Flint had more power than that. That's right.
He really did.
So, and of course, Kirk's like, "Excuse me, what does God need with his starship?" And McCoy's like, "You don't ask the Almighty for his ID, Jim." But Jim gets a lightning bolt for his trouble, and then Spock's like, "Yeah, what do you need?" Zap, he gets a lightning bolt. So McCoy, he was just over there helping Kirk. Now he's like, "Oh shit, I gotta go over there and help Spock over there." And then he's like, "How about you? Do you doubt me?" And McCoy is, he's the third one of the party, but he still gets there. "I doubt any God, who'd inflict pain for his own pleasure."
He doesn't even inflict pain. He just knocks him back.
I'm assuming
like a force field.
They probably need an analgesic cream or something. I mean, it probably stings a little.
That's true. I guess you could get a certain route on a certain planet, and not only would it make your girlfriend horny, it would salve your
problem. Yes, as it were. Yes. So then God says, "I've been trapped down here in prison for an eternity. You're going to bring the ship down. Do it, or watch these puny things die horribly. I'll kill them right in front of you," basically. And he does have the power to do that, we assume. And then
and so do the gangsters on,
So that's true. So Cybok then, to give him credit, he's like, "Let's see, what's my play here? Oh, I know. I'll give him the treatment. Hey, thing down on the planet, I sense you have pain. I can help you with that. Let's join in the sharing of your pain."
When have we seen this before, right? Lazarus.
Oh, I wrote full Lazarus is what I wrote on there. Full all Lazarus, right, okay. For sure. We're going to be in the corridor forever is what it is. What if Lazarus? And so then I wrote, Kirk calls down the photons, and the photons destroy the stone temple, but not the pilot, alas. They didn't destroy the stone temple pilot. No, nothing. Okay. It wasn't that
all good. Right. I missed that one.
It was not good. That's why.
Because I was already imagining how pissed off I get every time I see. So, what have we learned about photon torpedoes in our Trek fandom? They're
be more than 10 feet away when they explode. Is that what we've learned?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. You could, one could hit the chilling room right now, and I would have a 90% chance of surviving it, according to these guys.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, they jumped. They jumped. What the hell? They jumped. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's awful. Yeah. It's really bad.
Yeah. It is, and it doesn't kill the God thing either. That's the thing, is it doesn't even kill him. So now they hiked for quite a while, but they make it back to the ship, and they call Scotty, and Scotty's like, "I got power to bring out too." He's like, "All right, beam him up," and McCoy's bitching and moaning, swearing up a storm, but he gets beamed out, and then the Klingons attack the Enterprise, and now the transporter's out. Very Doomsday Machine, right? They should have had puffs of smoke coming out of off the platform.
Yeah, they should have.
I mean, that's what I wanted. And then the Klingons attack, and on the planet, the chase is on. Spock goes over and says to General Cord, "Hey, I need you to pull rank on your junior officer over there." He's like, "I am a foolish old man." But then we get a pretty good. We get Spock, the new Spock, the Spock that's the post, like woke up from I was dead and now I'm not dead anymore. Spock. He gets angry. He has that capacity. He's like, "Damn you, sir! You will try." That's the Spock. Yeah. So that's one authentic Spock. Yeah.
That's great, and what I really wish about I wish we would have got to seen the Rockman.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
Because then we could say the Rockman got them and their butts just dropped.
I was gonna say accidental headbutt, ref stoppage, round 7, but it's fine. It's all good. So then they're back on the planet, and Kirk climbs up to the top of this thing, and the God thing is about to get him, and then the Klingon bird of prey just swoops up behind him, turns its little gun, laser beams, that shoots him with their disruptor and blows him up, which they couldn't do with a photon, but they could do with the Klingon disruptor. Blows him up good, and then he's like, "Oh, you're coming to kill me now, you Klingon bastard!" And then the Klingons beam him aboard, and this, I think, it shouldn't work, and maybe it doesn't work, but I'm here for it. This scene where he beams him on there, and it's like, "Wait, Cord, what are you doing on the ship?" He's like, "Well, I'm the new commander. By the way, why don't you meet our new gunner?" And first of all, he has Claw apologize to him. He's like, "My daddy didn't say I could go out after dark, but I did, and so I'm sorry."
It totally works. It's fun. I like making him apologize. Yeah. I'm sorry.
And then introducing him to his new gunner, and it's Spock in the gunner's chair, which is fun. And then Kirk, I love it. This is one of the best lines in the franchise, and it shouldn't be, but it works. When he goes over there, and Kirk's like, "Oh, it's you. You saved me."
Not in front of the Klingons.
And not in front of the Klingons. That is so great. It pays off so well.
And that's what I'm saying. There's a character study stuff. It's got a lot of great stuff in it.
Yeah.
But the story and the MacGuffin and the movie just isn't realized. I think the ideas are fine, and even the meeting God thing sounds like a very Star Trek idea.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
But they didn't execute it at all.
I agree. I do. So we do have a couple scenes to take care of. So now they're having a party on board the Enterprise. The Klingons are invited. Chekhov and Sulu are kind of following after Vixis until they see that she's with that 7-foot-tall Klingon, and they kind of skedaddle.
They did a 180 real good.
They do the whole, this kind of thing to each other, the Klingon and Kirk do, and that stuff. And then they said maybe God is here in the human heart, and I was like, it's fine. It's like, okay, let's get sentimental on us. And then this to me is like the biggest pain too, right? Where Spock's like, "I lost a brother," and Kirk's like, "I lost a brother once too." And I was like, "Yeah, on Deneva, we remember on Deneva." And he's like, "Yeah, but lucky I got it back." I was like, "Son of a bitch, he's forgot about Sam. He's talking about Spock. Oh no!"
Yeah, and he played Sam.
I know.
So
don't you remember the mustache? Oh, oh, Sam. As Frodo once said, "Oh, Sam."
He should have said, "I lost a brother twice, and one time I got him back, and it was great." That would have been better.
That's fine. And so then, anyway, the coda of this, they're back in the campground. Spock is there by the fireside. He's got his Vulcan lyre, and he starts plucking, and he's playing "Row, Row, Row Your Boat," and they play out. The play out is them singing "Row, Row, Row Your Boat" to the Vulcan harp, and then they go to the music. And that's how this movie is. Which is dumb,
but I like it. I'm okay with them bookending it with the campfire stuff.
I think so. I think that's if you're going to start with that, then you bookend it with that, right? I think that's the way to do it. So that they're a family, and that a family stays together. So that's the end of this movie. I came out of the theater going, "Well, that wasn't what I was expected to be," but I was entertained. And I don't watch this very often, but when I do watch it, it's usually been long enough that I find it entertaining when I watch it.
Yeah. But it's like a fun season 3 episode.
Yep.
maybe like the one what's that one called? That Which Survives.
Yeah.
That Which Survives is a stupid episode that I like watching.
Yep.
And, or the Savage Curtain. The Savage Curtain has interesting ideas. Do they hit a home run on all of it? No.
Nope.
But I like it.
Yep.
Is it a classic? No. Is it a season 3 classic? No. But it's not a turd either, like it's remembered. I think a lot of people really shit on it because they go, row, row, row your boat, fan dance, and what does God need, or, what does God need with a starship?
Yeah.
But there is a lot of really good, and some of the character stuff's as good as any of the movies.
Yeah.
But there's just, I mean, man, oh God, just everything else outside of the big three is really hit or miss,
and it's not helped by the fact that it's easily by far the cheapest looking of the movies, right? It does not help.
I mean, you're talking about a movie that was predicted to be a major blockbuster, and it looks like shit.
Yeah, absolutely. It does look like it's an episode of the TV series in a lot of ways, right? It's like the Paradise Syndrome, right? We filmed it outside in Yosemite. What do you want? It's like. It's true, I suppose, but that's cool. But yeah, so final thoughts on this is I think, I have this of the 6 original series cast movies. I have it 6th. If I added Star Trek Generations in there, which has some of the original cast, I would still have the 6th above that one because I don't like what they did. They did Kirk wrong in Generations, and I just can't. I'm not there for it. The movie itself, they did the Enterprise D wrong, blowing it up with a 70-year-old bird of prey, and they did Kirk wrong by Kirk died instead of him dying on the bridge, he died under a bridge, and I just can't. I'm not there for that.
They did. I can't believe that they couldn't come up with a better death for Kirk. But I like I do like Generations.
Well, I like all of them. That's the thing. I do. That's so.
Yeah. It's better than Nemesis. It's better than Insurrection, I guess. What am I forgetting?
It's not as good as First Contact. I mean, that's
no.
Yeah. So.
And it's not even close to. I would say the one is closest to, in my opinion, is 3.
That's fair.
Of the original
That's
6.
fair. I have 3 much higher than that. I have it closest to 4. So that's fine. And that's mostly because I don't know where to put the funny ones, and so I put them together, kind of a thing. They're very entertaining. It's just for me, 3 is higher up than 4 because there's things of real import that happen. Spock's back. The ship's lost. David dies. There's a lot. While that movie feels like an episode of the TV show, a lot of shit goes down in Star Trek 3. Right?
That's true.
It's serious.
I mean, this, as far as the total overall story of Star Trek and our original crew, this one adds basically nothing to any of that. For the grandest adventure of them all, or whatever this was purported to be, it really is a throwaway as far as any meaningful anything.
Yep.
But, well, and I've said this before whenever we do other movies, I think comedy is the hardest thing in a movie to have age at all well.
Oh, yeah.
It is so rare to have a movie that's funny over the decades.
Yep, where the comedy doesn't grow stale. That's true. So.
Yeah, and so I think you're probably right in saying while you enjoy the comedy and all the funnier films, you rank them lowest.
Yeah, but it's fair. But we all have our own opinions, and that's just where I'm at. So I'm okay with the understanding that I'm the minority opinion and thinking that Star Trek 4 is 5th out of 6. Almost nobody has it that low. For the most part, usually it's 1 or 2 on almost everybody's list, right? Some people have it above 2. I think that's insane.
I could see it as low as 4, but that's...
and that's okay. I understand it. So, that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we do that. We have managed to plow through Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, before we did Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. Like I said, stay tuned. We'll do that in a year or 2.
You know how we're going to fix that, Butch?
Time travel.
Time travel, yeah.
Exactly right. We're gonna do a little time travel. That'll fix it. That's how we're gonna solve that problem. So, thanks, Rob, for hanging in with us, and thanks for joining us, all you in the listening audience, because we enjoy doing these for posterity. That's a movie. As much as we think it's not the best Star Trek movie, it's still a Star Trek movie, which means it's one of our all-time favorite movies. Am I right?
Absolutely. It's a fun little romp. Don't take it too seriously, and I think you'll enjoy it.
All right. So with that, Rob, you must take us out as you always do.
My friends, live long and podcast.